Have you ever sent a message to a woman and the minutes start to feel like hours? You check your phone again and again, but there's no reply. Maybe you even see that little seen notification, but still, nothing. It feels like a knife to the chest, doesn't it? You start wondering, did I say something wrong? Did she lose interest? Is she talking to someone else? Every man has felt this moment of silence, and it's brutal because it's not just about her ignoring you. It's about what it does to your mind. Suddenly, you feel powerless, and in that moment of panic, that urge to do something takes over. That's when most men fall into mistakes that destroy attraction, destroy respect, and destroy their own dignity. But here's the truth. Being ignored is not the end of the world. In fact, it's a test. It's a test of your strength, your self-control, and your ability to stay grounded like a true man. And if you handle it wrong, you lose everything. But if you handle it right, you gain respect, both from her and from yourself. Today, I want to walk you through the 5 biggest mistakes men make when a woman ignores them. These are mistakes that almost every man has made, but they don't even realize how much damage they cause. And more importantly, I'll show you how a Stoic man responds instead. Calm, firm, and unshaken. Because the way you respond to silence says more about your strength than 1,000 words ever could. Let's start with the first mistake. The first mistake is chasing harder. This is the most common reaction. She ignores your message, so what do? You send another, and then another. You start adding little marks, hey, did you see my message? Texts. Maybe you even send something funny just to get her attention. But here's the reality. The more you chase, the faster she runs. Think about it. When you chase a dog that doesn't want to be caught, what does it do? It runs away. And the harder you run after it, the faster it escapes. It's the same with people. When someone pulls back and you chase harder, all you're really doing is proving that their attention controls you. You're proving that you can't stay calm without them. And that kills attraction instantly. Let me give you a story. There was a guy named Daniel. He met a woman he really liked. They went on a few dates. Everything seemed good. But then one week, she started ignoring his texts. At first, Daniel thought, maybe she's just busy. But after a day, his patience collapsed. He started sending more and more messages. Hey, did you see my text? Hope everything's okay. Just wanted to check in. Why aren't you responding? By the end of the week, he had sent over 20 messages without a single reply. Now, imagine being in her position. Every time she looked at her phone, there was another message from Daniel. Did that make her miss him? Did that make her want to reply? No. It made her feel suffocated. It made her feel like she was being hunted. Because when a man chases too hard, he loses his power, he loses his mystery, and he loses her respect. Now imagine if Daniel had done something different. Imagine she ignored his text, and instead of chasing, he sent nothing. He simply lived his life, went to the gym, worked on his projects, spent time with his friends. Days pass, and his phone is silent. But he doesn't panic. He doesn't collapse. He stays centered. Now, in her mind, the story changes. She starts wondering, why isn't he chasing me? Did he lose interest? Did he move on? That curiosity is what makes her reach out. Because silence from a strong man speaks louder than 1,000 desperate texts. The lesson is simple. When she ignores you, the worst thing you can do is chase. Attraction is not built by begging for attention. It's built by being the man who doesn't need it, who doesn't need. When you stay calm, when you hold your ground, you send a message without even sending a word. I am not dependent on your reply. My life goes on, with or without you. And that is a message no woman can forget. The second mistake is losing control of your emotions. Now, this is where a lot of men destroy everything in one move, At first, they try to stay calm, but as the silence drags on, frustration builds, and then, boom, they snap. They send angry messages. Why are you ignoring me? If you don't want to talk, just say it. I deserve better than this. Maybe they even block her, then unblock her, then send another emotional text. In their mind, they're standing up for themselves. But in reality, they're showing weakness. Because here's the truth. Anger, outbursts, emotional explosions, they don't come from strength. They come from insecurity. They come from fear. A strong man doesn't need to lash out just because someone didn't reply. He knows his worth. He knows silence doesn't define him. But a weak man? The moment he feels ignored, his emotions control him. And that's when he loses all respect. Let's look at another story. A man named Victor was dating a woman he really liked. At first, she was responsive. But after a few weeks, her replies started slowing down. One day, she ignored his text for hours. Victor couldn't take it anymore. He exploded. He wrote her a long, angry message, telling her she was disrespectful, that she was wasting his time, that she was ungrateful for his attention. He thought this would make her realize his value, but instead she blocked him. Why? Because she didn't see strength in his anger. She saw desperation. She saw a man who couldn't control his emotions. And for a woman, that's the ultimate turnoff. Now compare that to a Stoic man. Same situation, she ignores him. Hours pass, a day passes. But instead of exploding, he stays calm. He doesn't accuse her. He doesn't attack her. He simply continues living. And when she finally reaches out, he doesn't greet her with bitterness. He greets her with composure, maybe even with indifference. And that reaction, calm, controlled, unbothered, is unforgettable. Because here's what most men don't realize. When you explode with anger at her silence, you're actually confirming her power over you. You're showing her that she can control your emotions with a single ignored text. And once she knows that, she'll never truly respect you again. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to be shaken, you send the opposite message. You cannot control me. My emotions are mine. My peace is mine. I am unmoved. And that kind of strength is magnetic. Think of the Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. These men faced wars, betrayals, and tragedies far greater than being ignored by a woman. Yet they never let their emotions destroy their wisdom. They understood that self-control is the highest form of power. And if they could master it in the face of death, surely you can master it in the face of silence. So the next time you feel that rage building, remember this. Every angry word you send is a brick of respect you're throwing away. But every calm breath you take is a wall of strength you're building inside yourself. And that is how you win, not by controlling her, but by controlling yourself. The third mistake is over-explaining yourself. Now this one is subtle, but it destroys you just as much as chasing or exploding in anger. When a woman ignores you, your mind starts racing. You think, maybe she misunderstood what I said. Maybe she thinks I don't care. Maybe she thinks I'm too busy. If I just explain myself, she'll realize I'm a good man and she'll reply. And so you begin typing. Paragraphs, long essays, messages full of justifications and reasons. You try to cover every angle, defend every action, make sure she doesn't misinterpret anything. You think you're fixing the problem, but really, you're just digging your own grave. Because here's the truth. Over-explaining is not strength. It's weakness in disguise. It screams insecurity. It tells her, your silence has put me on trial, and now I'm desperate to prove my innocence. And the more you try to prove yourself, the guiltier you look. Let me give you a story. There was a man named Marcus, not the emperor, just an ordinary man. He was dating a woman he admired deeply. But one day, she stopped replying. Hours turned into a day, then two. Marcus panicked. He couldn't stand the silence, so he began writing long messages. He explained how busy he had been at work, how much he cared, how sorry he was if he had upset her, how he didn't mean to make her feel ignored. He even wrote, "I just want to clear things up so there's no misunderstanding." By the time she read his words, what do you think she felt? Gratitude? Attraction? No. She felt exhaustion. She felt the weight of his insecurity in every sentence. His endless explanations drained her. Instead of seeing him as strong and confident, she saw him as desperate and fragile. And once that image was planted in her mind, attraction was gone. Now, picture another man in Marcus's place. She ignores him for 2 days, but instead of explaining, he sends nothing. He doesn't try to justify himself. He doesn't try to win her approval. He simply lives his life. He goes to the gym, works on his projects, laughs with his friends. He doesn't crumble under the silence. And then, when she finally reaches out, he replies with calm simplicity. Short, direct, no drama. Suddenly, the dynamic changes. Instead of him chasing her with essays, she's chasing him with curiosity. That's the difference. Over-explaining makes you look guilty, while calm silence makes you look powerful. Remember this. Real men don't explain themselves to someone who hasn't even asked a question. Real men don't justify their existence in paragraphs. Their actions speak for them. Their silence speaks for them. And their presence is so strong that it doesn't need explanation. The fourth mistake is lowering your standards. This is where most men completely lose themselves. When ignored, they start tolerating disrespect. They start accepting being treated like an option. They lower their boundaries just to keep her around. Why? Because they're afraid of losing her. But here's the irony. The moment you lower your standards to keep a woman, you lose her anyway. Lose her. Because women may test your patience, they may even push your limits, but deep down they crave your strength. They want to know you have a backbone. They want to feel that you won't bend just because you're scared of being alone. Let's look at a story. A man named Adrian fell deeply in love with his girlfriend. At first, things were good. But after a while, she began ignoring his messages for days at a time. Then she would come back, apologizing, acting sweet, but only when it was convenient for her. Adrian hated it, but he kept accepting her back. Every time she disappeared, he forgave her instantly. He thought, if I'm patient enough, if I show her I'll never give up, she'll see how much I love her. But she never did. In fact, the more he lowered his standards, the less she respected him. Eventually, she left him for another man, one who demanded respect from the start. Now picture a stoic man in Adrian's place. Same situation. She ignores him for days, then comes back when it's convenient. But instead of just letting it slide, he sets a boundary. He doesn't beg. He doesn't shout. He doesn't throw insults. He simply says, I don't accept being treated this way. If you want to be in my life, it has to come with respect. And if she doesn't rise to that standard, he lets her go. Does it hurt? Of course. But that kind of strength creates lasting respect. Even if she leaves, she will never forget the man who valued himself enough not to bend. A stoic man lives by principles, not by fear. And that is what sets him apart. Lowering your standards for love is not love. It's self-betrayal. And when you betray yourself, no one will respect you. A woman cannot admire a man who puts her above his own dignity. But when you stand firm, when you value yourself more than her attention, you become unforgettable. Because she realizes you are not like the others. You are a man of principle, and principle is rare. The fifth mistake is losing yourself. This, my brother, is the deadliest mistake of all. When ignored, many men abandon their own lives. They stop working on their goals. They stop focusing on their mission. They stop living. Everything becomes about her silence. Every thought, every move, every ounce of energy revolves around winning back her attention. And in that process, they destroy the very thing that made them attractive in the first place, their independence, their sense of purpose, their masculine strength. A woman may enjoy your affection, but she falls in love with your strength. And your strength is tied to your mission in life, not to her responses. The moment you abandon that mission to chase her attention, you become smaller in her eyes. She may not say it out loud, but deep down, she feels it. You are no longer the man she admired. You've become a man addicted to her approval. Let's look at one final story. There was a man named David. When he first met his girlfriend, he was ambitious, focused, and driven. She admired that about him. But when she began ignoring him, David lost himself. He stopped going to the gym. He stopped working on his projects. He stopped laughing with his friends. He spent his days staring at his phone, waiting for her replies. Within weeks, he was no longer the man she fell for. He was just a shell, broken by her silence. And because of that, she left him. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he abandoned the very qualities that made him attractive. Now imagine a Stoic man in David's position. His girlfriend ignores him. The silence is painful, yes. But instead of collapsing, he goes deeper into his mission. He trains harder. He focuses on his work. He invests in himself. He grows stronger. He becomes even more magnetic. Whether she comes back or not doesn't matter, because he hasn't lost himself. He's won either way. And that is the secret. When a woman ignores you, don't chase harder. Don't explode with anger. Don't over-explain yourself. Don't lower your standards. And above all, don't lose yourself. Because if you avoid these 5 mistakes, you protect your dignity, your respect, and your strength. And whether she stays or leaves, you remain whole. This is what Stoicism teaches us. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's not about being cold or heartless. It's about holding your ground when life tests you. It's about not letting another person's silence control your peace. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need anyone else to confirm it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Her silence is an outside event. You cannot control it. But your response? That is yours. That is where your power lies. So the next time she ignores you, remember this. Your reaction is everything. Let her silence reveal her character. But let your response reveal your strength. That is how you win, with or without her."